All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in again to Honest Offense. I am joined by my good buddy, Tom Amenta. Tom is a former Army Ranger. On top of that, he's worked in radio. He founded a successful lifestyle apparel brand. He was a producer on Range 15, the first all-veteran produced feature film, which is hilarious, and we'll get into that. And he most recently was on the marketing team at Google. Tommy, thank you so much for being here, buddy.
What's going on, bud? How you doing?
Man, it's just good to talk to you. It's been a while.
Dude, it hasn't actually. So, especially going back to my radio days, I was thinking like prep and like I saw the questions and everything. And the first thing I thought in my head, I'm like, how do I make sure we keep this on the track so it just doesn't turn into a bunch of inside jokes and the dumb shit that we did when we both lived in Durham?
Listen, like, if it turns into that, it turns into that, man. That's the beauty of podcasts is if people want to listen, they can. If they don't, they can turn it off. So whatever.
Yeah. I will either be your best podcast or your worst, and the odds of me using the most F-bombs is probably 100 fucking percent.
That's why I love you. That's why I love you. It's the extreme, and you can take it or leave it. Again, that's the beauty of this whole thing.
Story of my life, man.
So I always like to start these with I like hearing about what you were like growing up, and I actually don't know if you and I have talked much about this, but I get the feeling just from knowing you pretty well that you were a lot like me. You were just this loud kid who just couldn't sit still. And you grew up outside of Chicago, right?
I did. So I was actually born in the city, and I'm currently back in Chicago right now. I'm like 12 minutes walk from Wrigley. So when we get done here, I'll have to take the dog by the ballpark to calm her down. But I'm the oldest of four, born in the city, grew up about 45 minutes straight down I-90, if anyone knows the area, right around Elgin and Dundee. And always a loud kid, always super athletic, like I was always playing baseball. I was always out and about, like, like now, like when you tell a kid to like go outside and they look at you like you're high. I mean, I was always like, get outside, mom, get outside. All right. So running around, doing all of that. I was a total nut. Also, I have ADD, but ADD medication didn't really work, or it wasn't really a thing, when I was a little kid. So, teachers had to deal with me, and like I found after I moved, my parents just moved to Versailles, Kentucky, in horse country, retired down there, and so like they gave me all of like my old like treasure box stuff, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like I'm reading through like my old report cards one day, and like my old one, it's like can't sit still, really talkative, sometimes doesn't listen. I'm like,
yeah.
That hasn't changed, man.
Literally, I do the exact, like, it seems like around the holidays when everyone's home, we bring out the old report cards and go through the reports, and I had all the exact same thing. Couldn't sit still, won't pay attention. Yeah. Is a smart ass. Yep. I don't know if it actually said that on the report card, but that's basically the idea.
I mean, I've told you this story, but it's one of those things where it's like when I left the military, everyone gets a plaque, right? Or like some token. And usually on a plaque, the inscription says, thankful you for your faithful and devoted service, Sergeant Amenta, gives the dates. Whatever. Mine says, to Sergeant Amenta from the men of the 75th Ranger Regiment, better a smart ass than a dumbass, and gives the dates. So everything that you need to pretty much know about me is literally in that inscription, right? Like, and that all came from me. I'd send something to my boss who was the operations sergeant major. So he wasn't in command. He wasn't the command sergeant major, but he was in E9 and the highest enlisted rank, Sergeant Major Rhodes. And our command sergeant major, Sergeant Major Birch, was also in his office, and they're talking, like whatever important people talk about and whatever. And, Rhodes yells out of his office, Amenta, where's my report? I'm like, I sent it to you, Sergeant Major. Bullshit, you didn't get the fuck in here. I'm like, running in. And this was like 2003. So it was like if you didn't set Outlook right, you had to hit refresh when you wanted your emails to, like, they hadn't like gotten there. And plus the military, so everything's like 10 years behind anyway. And so I walk in there and I see that he doesn't have the auto refresh for his email. Like he's got to hit the button on it. I said, Sergeant Major, I said, I'm telling you, I sent it. Like, have you refreshed your email? Like, I'm trying to give him the out, right? What do you mean, God? And now at this point, like Rhodes and I had a great relationship. It wasn't confrontational or adversarial at all. Like he was really a great mentor to me. So, but now like my smart ass just takes over, right? I'm like Sergeant Major, I'm telling you, I sent it to you. I'm like, you need to refresh, like you need to do this. And he goes, what the fuck is this? Blah, 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 blah. And I looked at him and said, Sergeant Major, I'm going to hit one key. I go, no, not one key, one mouse click on your computer. And I said, I promise you, you are going to feel really, really stupid in front of the command sergeant major if you let me do this. Fuck you, I'm not to fucking fix it. Click. Like 20 emails come in, right? God damn it, Amanda, boss. So I'm like doing push-ups. the sergeant is pushing for the sergeant major's ignorance. Ah, sergeant major. And Birch just starts laughing. He looks at him and goes, well, Hugh, better a smart ass than a dumb ass. And Amenta's got the smart ass like down. He's like, get up to the fuck out of my office. So I'm like,
well, it's good to know you haven't changed since then.
Yeah, no, right? Like,
so I want to rewind. So you enlisted right out of high school, right?
Yeah.
When
on my birthday.
When did the military become the plan?
So I knew I wasn't ready for college. Like I would say somewhere around, my junior year, I knew I wasn't. Also, again, like I said, I'm the oldest of four. I've always been really kind of conscious and a little sort of anxious when it comes to how my parents going to do this and everything. So it was like, for me, I'm like, well, this is going to be free college. And granted, I graduated high school in 1999. So before 9/11 was a thing, I never had to make that choice. To me, it was 4 years, be a Ranger, which had come to me because my great uncle had been in special forces in Vietnam before it officially branched. And so I asked him, like, Uncle Ralph, I kind of want to do this. What do you think? He's like, well, if this is what you want to do, you want to go be a Ranger. I'm like, great, cool. So I did the research and I'm like, so right around there, I was like, yeah, it was a way to pay for school. So I wasn't in debt and I could, my parents could kind of pass some of that money down to, my siblings, which, my sister, who's 1 year younger than me, went to Bradley University, which is a private school in Peoria, Illinois. From the Midwest, it's a really good school. If you're not, you have no idea, but she graduated summa cum laude. She's not dumb. All my other siblings have at least master's degrees, but me, I'm just only the bachelor guy. And I'm like, whatever, fuck that. So I did that. And then, I actually enlisted on my birthday. The more I got to it, the more I'm like, this is gonna be a challenge. I'm a big challenge person. I've got to have goals. I need to feel like I need to do big things in my life. So, I actually enlisted on my 18th birthday, the night before my 18th birthday, the car pulls up and takes me the hotel to go to MEPS and whatever. My parents are freaking out. This is not at all what they want from me. They tried everything under the sun to keep me from enlisting to the point where I don't have a senior portrait. Okay. If you look, I don't have senior pictures and I didn't take the SAT or the ACT while I was in high school. I refused. I'm like, well, because if I don't take the test, then you guys have no other options. You guys can't screw with me anymore. So
that's funny.
Looking back, the whole senior picture thing was just such a petty, only an 18-year-old thinks that's a good idea, right? No, fuck my future and any future memories and my yearbook and all this other, shit that people look back on nostalgically. I'm not going to do it because I'm going in the army, that sort of shit. So, but yeah, man. So that was it. I made sure it was in my MEPS contract that I got the summer. So I shipped out September 7th, 1999. And I went to Fort Benning for basic training, went there for airborne, went to the Ranger Indoctrination Program, which is now the Ranger Assessment and Selection Phase. So for us, it was RIP. And boy, did the instructors love to tell you to rest in peace. And, now it's called RASP. And
could you explain what Rangers are? Because I think people, special ops community, there's so many different ways you could go. I think people are it's confusing if you're not part of it.
All right, so I'll give the tier, and I'm only going to do the Army. I know you've heard this speech before. So at the very top, you have Delta Force. Okay, those guys are just complete, utter, direct action, asymmetrical warfare badasses. It is the elite, best of the best, the hardest thing to get into in the Army. Then they are literally considered tier 1. When you hear the tier 1 thing, that's who those guys are. Okay, they're super secret. Then sort of on the next level down, as far as sort of direct action stuff, I'm gonna keep the support assets out of it. You have the 75th Ranger Regiment, which is Army Special Operations Light Infantry. Their role has changed. What they're doing now is really kind of what Delta was doing in 2002 when I was in. They've evolved. They do a lot of direct action. They do a lot of, Syria, for example. The Rangers are all over that. And they do a lot of door kicking. They do a lot of stuff. They're part of Joint Special Operations Command, in addition to United States Army Special Operations Command. So in the super secret thing, they're there. On sort of an equal level, really, it's just a very different mission in Special Forces. Whereas the Rangers want to go in, break stuff, wreck it, blow shit up. SF is working in 12, 12-man teams, 8 teams. They're working with the local populace. They're gaining rapport. They're less there to get into a gunfight and more to train a whole bunch of people to get into that gunfight. So different mission. They're just part of United States Army Special Operations Command because they really don't have a major direct action portion. But they're still, about equal. How you get in, how long. SF and Ranger guys love to just argue that out to the nth degree. And then after that, you'll get, you know, your line infantry units like the 101st Airborne, the 82nd, 10th Mountain, things like that. But the wrinkle in all of this that makes it so complicated for so many people and they don't always grasp it is the United States Army Ranger School, that black and gold tab that you'll see a lot of people wearing. And that came out of the U.S. War Department during the Korean War, where they were trying to take what the Ranger units were doing efficiently and distill some of those tactics down and allow people to understand them, to give out that knowledge. And that's really sort of what it does if you're Ranger qualified, which is what they call it. It's not, you're not a member of the Ranger Regiment, you're just Ranger qualified. So guys who've been to Ranger school say they're Rangers. You know, the Ranger Regiment's patch is a scroll. And so, you know, we always say, like, if you're not scrolled, you're not shit, because, well, we're hoity-toity and uppity when it comes to shit like that. You know, basically for me, it's like, look, if you went through Ranger School, it's the premier leadership school in the United States military. I mean, every branch of service sends people there. It's got, you know, it's an absurd graduation rate, like 90+% of people fail it. Like, it is not an easy thing to do, right? So I usually don't have a lot of heartburn with someone if it's like, oh yeah, I was a Ranger, and they're not like chest thumping and like trying to tell me how much of a Billy Badass they are, and they went to Ranger School. Like, cool, dude, do you? Like, that's it. It's an amazing accomplishment, Eric. Like, it's tremendous. But if you want to start sort of running your mouth or like trying to pretend that you are something that you aren't really, I'm like, oh, really? You got to scroll too? You know, like, so get out of my pond, dude. But,
what was the average day in Ranger? First of all, how long did Ranger School last, and what were you doing in that school that was different than like just regular basic?
Ranger School 63 days, and you had two things. You had field portion where you're out there leading combat patrols or mock-up combat patrols. And then you were in garrison, which really wasn't garrison, it was more like being in those little camps where you were like learning how to do operations orders. You were learning planning. You were learning how to execute the tactics and techniques and the procedures. And so, but the one thing about it that was standard is you never got more than 4 hours of sleep, ever.
I'm already out.
Yeah, I've gone, I think the longest that I can remember, because fun fact for everyone listening, you can look this up later. As far as your psychology goes and as far as your brain functionality goes, if you stay up for 36 hours straight, you are basically legally drunk. Like, that is how your brain is processing, is like on a 0.1 alcohol level. So it's all designed to force you to really kind of lose your forebrain and go to sort of your midbrain, your animal instinct brain, and be able to make decisions almost entirely on instinct. It's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of decreased cognitive function. And can you do it? It's a lot of, the term you use a lot is embrace the suck there, because everything sucks. Like, you're out, my first patrol, it was pouring ass rain. I couldn't see barely anything. It's dust. I'm crawling down a little javelina trail in Fort Benning, Georgia. And suddenly I hear this, and I look, and there's Mama Javi with all of her little piglets. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna fucking die, right? Like, I am about to get gored by this goddamn pig. And like, This is, and like, they went right by me, and they're like, you sneak up, like, it was a recon. So like, we're checking out, like, everything. And like, we get back and report the information, and, so it's stuff like that. And it's brutal on sort of your psyche. I went there at about 170 pounds. And like, right when we got done with final field problem and they put me on a scale, and by the way, I'm 5'6" for everyone listening at home. Like, I'm not a big dude. I was down under 145. Like, I mean, like, wow. You just lose it. Like, it's just, everything's just gone. Like, there's a picture of me at graduation where it's total squirrel cheeks and sucked in. And there's another one from the Ranger Ball, like 4 weeks later. And I've got the fattest, puffiest chipmunk cheeks you have ever seen, because I've been doing nothing but eating. Like, just, my body's like, put it all back in. So
was there one particular thing? What did you say? You said over 90% dropout. Was there like something in particular that like a large chunk of people?
So the majority, you have the assessment phase, the first 3 weeks, where it's just, you're just getting screwed with. It's just, there was one, I think it was day 2 or day 3 when I was there. And they still more or less do this. I mean, it's changed. I went through in 2001, I graduated in July 2001. But like, we did all of our gear inspections and we do all this, and we're standing around on these rocks. We're just standing there, like at parade rest, just like waiting. And the instructors go, we just want you guys to know that you're going to stand here for the next 2 hours and whatever. He said, I used to remember, like, 2 hour party. He goes, because then we can let you go to bed, because then it's only 4 hours of sleep. And at first, like, honest to God, dude, I'm like, no way. And, every now and then they'd be like, do push-ups. You guys have fallen asleep. do arm flappers or do, like they do mountain climbers, but it wasn't like a spoke session where they just kept like, it would just be like, oh, we just want to keep you guys awake. And finally it's like, seriously, 2 hours, whatever later, he's like, yeah, go to bed.
Were you prepared at all? Like did you know what was coming before you went to this? Did you like get into extra shape or do anything? Do any training before?
The Ranger Regiment had a pre-Ranger program that you had to do. That was 3 weeks before you did it. I went through pre-Ranger twice because the first time that I went there, I got chilblain on my ears, which is a precursor to frostbite. So they held us back in the winter, which sucked, and I didn't like it right up until just the way that it worked out. All the actors that played Rangers in Black Hawk Down came down to the 75th Ranger Regiment, literally in the middle of that first pre-Ranger to the second pre-Ranger. So I got to help train all of those guys. I was like one of like the assistant instructors, and like I got a book signed by a bunch of them. There's a rap party for it, even though I wasn't 21. There's like the local Ranger bar, so we all went in there. Josh Hartnett got me absolutely shit hammered, fucking drunk. And I was 19 and I was a super fundamentalist Christian growing up. So like I hadn't really had this much experience. Like literally Josh Hartnett, I'll never forget this, kept buying me Red Stripe beer and carried me out of the goddamn bar.
Oh, that's so funny.
So yeah. And then
I never heard that story.
Yeah, I know. Well, and then the other thing is that like, there was like a dinner that I got invited to, and I got to sit next to Ewan McGregor and Ewan Bremen, who had both been in Trainspotting, and I fucking loved, and I still love that movie. So I actually got to talk to them about like the making of Trainspotting. I got to talk to them about like, and I'm such a film nerd. And then like we're talking because everyone else, like, because this was right around Star Wars time for the prequels, so everyone wants to talk to McGregor about Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? I mean, and I'm the biggest. I mean, look behind me. I'm the biggest fucking Star Wars nerd you're gonna find. But even that was like, that's kind of like cliche basic bitch. I've read all your shit in Entertainment Weekly and whatever, right? So I'm asking like, guys, I got to know about Trainspotting. Like, I love that movie. And they're like, you Yanks? I'm like, yes, I fucking love that movie. Like, and so we ended up having this like, crazy conversation. And the scene where Rents ODs, when McGregor, ODs, and like they do the whole thing where like looks like he's dropping down. Well, what it was they had like a blanket, and then there was kind of like a lift or whatever that was moving up and down, kind of like an elevator. And everyone's in there, and they've all got to be like, when he's like all spaced out and freaking out and whatever, and it's dropping, and no one can keep a straight face. Like everyone's dying laughing, apparently, when it was being shot. And like then like the little cloth like got jammed and like it kind of ripped. So the man like Danny Boyle's kind of got to like move everything around, and it was just like they're like, oh, it was a fucking nightmare for what should have like a 5-second shot, right? It was like supposed to be more, but ultimately like, they had to cut it. And it was just.
So
that was some random fucking weird thing that happened on my way to Ranger School. And,
it's so funny what you said too about Ewan McGregor and Star Wars, because I've noticed that too, just doing this podcast, that if you want to talk to someone who's got some sort of notoriety, is ask them about something that's a little bit older or less well known. Like if someone has a new book out and I say, hey, can I interview you about your new book? They're like, well, 100 other people with way bigger platforms than you want to talk to me. But if I say, hey, can I ask you about this book you wrote 10 years ago that I just read, or can I ask you about your friendship with this person who died? They're much more interested in talking about that. So that's just a little tip for anyone trying to talk to someone famous.
And I'll say too, like at least with my experience and stuff like that, I think that me being able to look at both of them and say, I loved your work on this relatively small indie, it showed that I was kind of a film nut, right? And later on, like by the end of it, Jason Isaacs was there, and he played, he had just gotten done playing Colonel Tollington in The Patriot. And I looked at him and I'm like, I gotta be honest with you, dude. Like, I loved your performance in The Patriot, but it made me fucking hate you because I'm the American. And he starts laughing. I mean, he's dying laughing. He's like, I just put it on Front Street, man. Like everyone else is like kind of like giving him the stink eye and shit. I'm like, nah, bro. Like it was a powerful performance, but fuck you for it, right? He just looks at me and just shakes his head. He goes, you bloody fucking Yanks. But like later on, like, like that one dinner, like it was actually really cool. It's like I showed interest in what they do. I showed interest in their craft. Right. I wasn't trying to fanboy. I mean, and eventually McGregor and I did talk Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff. Actually, ironically enough, after, and I didn't realize that I set him up for this, but it's just the way it worked out. But it was kind of interesting. So we took them all to the range and they all got to fire 20 rounds. And McGregor can shoot, man. Like he had never really handled firearms before, but like, dude, he listened really, really well. And he 20 for 20 is, his 10 ring. And he's just jacked up, man. He is stoked, right? You know, I'm like, whatever. I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome. You know, like, great. You know, because I'm one of the assistants, or like we're loading magazines and like on the line next to one guy making sure. And, you know, he said something, you know, sort of casually about like, you know, this is like, you know, like the choreography for it. I'm like, well, what was that like? You know, like I didn't ask about playing the role. I'm like, what was it like? Especially, most people don't know this, but Ray Park Jr., who was Darth Maul, was also the fight choreographer.
Huh.
So for Phantom Menace, like the only good part of Phantom Menace is that fight scene, right?
Yeah.
The Darth Maul fight scene. He was also the choreographer. There's like pictures around, whatever, like he's setting the camera stuff up because he did the blocking. Like he was known primarily as a stunt guy. And so he was talking about it, and he's talking about Park's athleticism and just how like you really had, like you had to bring it because this dude could just whoop your fucking ass, you know, even though they had practiced it 100 times and stuff like that. It was like cool. I mean, it was cool. Like, but I really did. One of the lessons I learned from that experience was like, you know, and kind of like what you said, it's like, find the thing that you think that you're interested about with that person that they're also gonna be mutually interested in, because you're always gonna have a better conversation than, like, I don't know how a guy like, for example, Matthew McConaughey right now is out there everywhere promoting his book. Right. And I've listened to a couple of interviews with him, and it's like kind of the same shit. You know, the Tim Ferriss podcast, excepting because, well, it's Tim fucking Ferriss, and he just kind of does, you know, he's like the other Rogan, right? Like, I ask you whatever I want. If you come on, you just know you got to play ball with it. But it's like, it's fascinating. It's like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, I mean, is it really worth, like, you've got all the money in the world. Is it really worth selling 5 extra units of your book to answer the same question like 20 times? And that was another thing. Like, and I took that lesson kind of to radio. Like, yeah, you know, you mentioned that in my background. It's like when I was in college and I was doing that, you know, I would always find the most random question to ask. And it would always be like, all right. And I used to put it out, like, again, like I'm kind of like try to put it on Front Street guy. I'd be like, all right, look, I know I got to talk about the new album, and we'll get to that. And you never fail. Everyone in the band starts cracking up at that, right? Because they're like, oh, like, you know, like, listen, we both know we got to eat broccoli here, whatever. But I'd ask some random question like, you know, whose farts stink the worst on the bus? Or, you know, who's the guy that is always like, you know, the chick hound, or like, you know, like something like, you know, if I knew the band was single, like at my research, whatever.
Right.
And it was like, it just broke the ice right away. Cause it's like, you know, I'm not the same guy. And plus being in a college town and being a college, you know, at a college commercially licensed station, I knew I could get away with a little more, like, quite frankly, like, you know, I mean, called the chairman of the FCC a dumbass
back then you could. No, I don't know about these days, but yeah, in the early 2000s, you could get away with more.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know. Terrestrial radio is one of those things we could probably do an entire podcast on, that and how it's evolved, and frankly, how podcasts and stuff like this have taken over some of that market. But yeah, that ability to not be the same as everybody else is, and to, if there is something that's everyone's going to ask, just put it out there. Like I've never understood, you know, in my entire life, whether, you know, even now when I'm, you know, doing, you know, veteran entrepreneurship consulting, or I'm doing a marketing program, or, you know, some of these things, like I've never understood how, like, people, listen, we got a product to sell if it's marketing. So let's talk about the features and let's, you know, and benefits, but let's also talk about the negatives. Like, let's all be honest enough to say, like, this is where we aren't as good as somebody else. Because I've been in so many rooms, you know, post when I was working for myself, like, well, it's like, no, motherfucker, I've read the 30 fucking reviews on this. Okay. Like, we all have. Like, let's not be the disingenuous, you know, pretend it doesn't exist. Well, look, it's focus on the positives. Like, it's jujitsu, man. Like, if they're going to say this, you know, it doesn't have to be the primary, but we do have to cover this. We do have to have that thought process, and you have to go to the next level, because if for everything, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Like, if we're so good at putting our message out, well, they're going to find a way to hammer that message, and they're going to find a way to, like, re-up it. So it's like, if we're not thinking in zones, if we're not thinking in strategy, I mean, okay, great. Good luck. I hope we get lightning in a bottle and go viral or some shit. Cause like, the best you can fucking do.
Yep. I want to get back onto our timeline. So, cause I didn't realize, so you graduated Ranger School, July of 2001. Mm-hmm. So between then and 9/11, what were the Rangers doing? Like, were you guys just kind of doing missions wherever little scuffles were coming up around the world? Like, what was the goal of the Rangers at that time?
I will say what we were doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause that's just, you know, when you're in the Joint Special Operations Command, you know, even now I still want to be a little careful.
Sure, of course.
We were training. We were just constantly in training cycles. And actually, when 9/11 happened, I was in Germany. I was on a training cycle in Germany, getting ready to do a mission that we all thought was bullshit, to support 187 or 183rd Airborne Brigade out of Vicenza, Italy. The battalion that we were supporting, and the battalion's like 600 guys, just for people that don't know. It was entirely a favor/drug deal to him because he was about to become the next commander of 1st Ranger Battalion. So he wanted and he was kind of, I don't know, the rumor mill is that some of his NCOs and his officers he was thinking about bringing with him, and just the typical, bullshit drug deal. So they're like, all right, well, we want you guys to work in with them and everything. And I was in Bravo Company. ACO also came with us. And SECO came with, and SECO, they're going to have a 4-day weekend. Okay. And I've got to go out and fucking do this bullshit because we're the best. We're the best company.
Right.
Man, we were pissed because literally my friends are all like, well, we're getting on the high-speed train and we're going to Madrid for the day. And then we're going to hit Paris. And then, because we're in Germany, fuck you guys. We're going to get drunk in Berlin. We're going to Munich because it's the weekend before Oktoberfest. It was just the way that it fell. And, and we're going to do all this stuff. Oh, you guys have fun out in the training area is called the box. You guys have fun in the box, and every joke about a bad female anatomy that you can think of is also flying. Okay.
Of course.
And then 9/11 happened. And I will never forget walking into the command center because I was the radio operator to get my updated frequencies because they did things differently than we did. And it's frankly more of a pain in the ass. And I'm salty, man. I'm fucking surly. I'm pissed. And suddenly one of my fellow RTOs is like, hey, did you hear about New York? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the World Trade Center got hit. One of the towers is falling. I'm like, what? I run in and there's this little transistor radio with Armed Forces Network on, and everyone is dead silent. I mean, just done. And I walk in and I'm like, hey, and my comms chief's like, what the fuck do you want? I'm like, I need the new freaks. He's like, all right, yeah, it gives them to me, I load everything up and I'm listening. And it spreads like wildfire, and suddenly everything instantly goes on lockdown. So all my buddies who have this trip plan and their high-speed train tickets and everything, done, shut down. They are back in the barracks, sitting there with a thumb up their ass. Everything's going on, and my platoon leader, a guy by the name of Doug Taylor, who had spent 7 years in Delta Force, okay, walks up to us, and Doug was not a big speech guy or anything. He goes, men, now it's real. He goes, wow. We always say we train like we fight, and he goes, when we go out there the next few days, you better do it. And it was we're on the helicopter because I have the radio. I'm listening to the pilots and the birds flying us out there. They're talking about all of it. I'm listening to the crew chiefs, and everyone's there's these little pieces of information, but we didn't have a CNN uplink. So we go out there and do this for a week. Right. And then we come back. So I didn't see the towers fall until over a week after. And that was the worst because everyone else was so used to it. They were so numb to that we walk in, haven't slept in a day and a half or whatever, tired, going into the chow hall. They finally have CNN, and I'm doing this, and I look up just in time to see that stock footage of it fall. And you got all of these dudes, right, that are just this, our mission is to prevent that from happening, right? Our entire purpose of being is for that not to happen. And you just see this rage just comes over everybody's face. We were already pretty fired up, but suddenly we had the picture to go with it. And then, 3rd Ranger Battalion, 6 weeks later, were the ones that jumped into Objective Rhino and really kicked off everything besides the horse soldiers that were SF guys. We thought we were going because we were already in Germany. And every time a battalion deploys, you have what you call the go to war pallets. They always come with you. We were literally some desert camo away, or what we thought, from being we're already in the staging area. You're gonna have to move everything to Germany. We're already here. We're already certified, because that's, the mission we did, the bilat, we're ready to go. And then ultimately they pulled us back to Fort Lewis, which pissed us all off. And 3rd Ranger Battalion, which is at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is where command is. After I hurt my shoulder, I went there. So of course we're all like, oh yeah, everyone just kissed up to the old man, someone got down on their knees and, 375 got it, who knows? And then my buddy Jeff actually jumped in on that. So if Jeff Phillips is watching this, he'll be like, hey, remember that time that I got my combat star, my mustard stain that you don't have from jumping into Rhino? And I'm like, yeah, fuck you, Jeff. So, but yeah, so that was that. We went back. I deployed in February or early March 2002 for my first combat tour.
Okay.
Did that.
Where'd you go?
I had actually. What's up?
Where did you deploy?
Afghanistan. So my two,
because that's before Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah, my 2 tours were both in Afghanistan, 02 and 04.
Okay.
So my 04 one, I had hurt my shoulder. It didn't really get fixed. I needed surgery. So they moved me down to regimental headquarters at Fort Benning, Georgia to get surgery and to heal up. And after I'd been certified out from that, in 04, I went, and actually I was there. I was the guy that picked up the radio the night Pat Tillman died. Wow. So I was the person coordinating like the bird to, get, pull him and the wounded guys out. And I was there for that. And then that was one of the proudest things that I've ever had in my life. And I'm not exaggerating in any way, shape, or form. Was a few years later, after I was at Ranger Up, so this was like 5-6 years later, I got invited to a private VIP party with Donald Rumsfeld because his book had just been released. And I was doing a lot of veteran advocacy work through Ranger Up, the company that that Nick, I was part of with Nick Palmachano. I was a COO, and we're being very active in that. And DC was only 4.5 hours from Durham. So we went up, and I swear to God, I was going into that room with the sole purpose of decking Rumsfeld. I mean, no exaggeration. Like, I was going to punch that dude in the fucking face, because with the Tillman thing, we knew inside of 24 hours that someone from from the Rangers had killed him. Okay. That it was friendly fire. It was fratricide. It went immediately to McChrystal. Because I was working in the command center. Okay. So I knew like everything that's going on. I mean, I picked up the goddamn radio and started, the 9 line and getting the medic bird and everything out there. Goes up the chain of command. It leaves. McChrystal actually signed, had from that transition from sort of military leadership to civilian leadership, sign an acknowledgement that he told them that this was a fratricide friendly fire thing. Oh, wow. It was pretty open and shut.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not something that really went up. Somewhere above all that, suddenly he's, suddenly he's like this great all-American hero. Suddenly he is this massive fucking propaganda piece. And we're all sitting here like watching this play out, uncomfortable as fuck, frankly. I mean, there's so much time that's gone by that I'm not spilling anybody's tea here at this point, but it's like, well, what do you do? Like, we know what happened. And then all that happens with everything. And it was just like, dude, to my knowledge, and someone's listening to this, if you know more about this, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat Tillman is the only American service member to receive the Silver Star in a friendly fire incident.
Wow.
Like, I'm not like, Pat was a hero for a whole bunch of other reasons. And he was an amazing, amazing fucking human being. And he was an amazing American. I wouldn't have called him a friend, but I knew him. I'd been around him a little bit. Like that dude was the real fucking deal. Okay. I am in no way, shape, or form trying to besmirch, nor am I besmirching Pat. However, what he was turned into and what he was, the Fox News thing. And then, his brother who's grieving, Richard, has that expletive laden funeral and everyone's freaking out. And then the other thing that got lost in context is the person that brought his body back was his brother, who also enlisted with him, who had been in AAA organization, expected to be a baseball star, Kevin. Like you just ripped this family completely up, and Kevin didn't, no one told Kevin. Kevin didn't find out until weeks after the funeral. There was such an active, coordinated, malicious, do not do this. So then things come out later. Like, we knew inside of 24 hours. So what do you do when you're grieving and you move on? Like, we burned all of his stuff. We knew, we had put the fucking report in at the unit level at, all the way up to JSOC. Like, this is the truth. This is what happened. So you start the process of moving on, right? You start to heal. Because no one, the guy that most likely shot him was someone who would happen to have been a team leader in my old platoon in 2002. Like, I knew him really well. Like, there was no malice. Like, it was a fog of war thing. I mean, honestly, when I looked at the report, part of it, if I'm being honest, that was a problem, was Pat was such an athlete and he was so much farther forward, and he was with a local Afghani who's, used to the train and everything, that people didn't think we could have been there in the middle of that. Like, he was just, because he was a world-class fucking athlete who really knew how to, especially the football player. I mean, he knew how to move 50 yards in 3 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a bad circumstance, but no one was hiding from that at the unit level. No one was, was shrugging it off or anything. But yeah, so
that's I had no idea how soon you guys knew that it was friendly fire. I mean, kind of the way it was reported was, we figured this out years later. It developed, and
I'll never forget the JAG officer walking in, And then, so for me personally, actually, like this is one of those just for me. So like the other thing is that what everyone forgets and lost in all of that is a couple of stupid fucking assholes did launch a whole bunch of RPGs at the convoy. There was so much that was wrong with that and everything, but like they do all that, right? We rolled those guys up. We captured them. Okay. And the whole reason that Tillman was even elevated the way that he was and as fast as he was, and that's the other thing, like especially if you ask people who've done the global war on terror, Pat Tillman's Silver Star came through as the fastest fucking commendation that anyone has ever seen. Like that whole, I could go on for an entire podcast about how fucked up that system is. Not fucked up, it's been since that time period, right? Like it was all bullshit. Like it just got completely rammed through. And like those dudes, the other thing about it was that Abu Ghraib, everybody knew in JSOC, everybody knew in the CIA and all the apparatus that Abu Ghraib was coming down the pipe. Like CNN and CBS had gotten together and were trying to give the DOD their fact, like we have this, we're fact checking. Here's your official comment before we drop this insane fucking bomb of a story, right? I mean, it was just, and we ever knew it was coming. Yeah. So this is me assuming, but given how that went and the way the speed of it is, and especially now that I work in marketing and crisis PR and stuff like that, I really think they were hoping that they were going to get like those fun, feel good, you know, everything surrounding Pat, making him this great American hero. And, you know, that's why they took the route that they did. And then Abu Ghraib happens and suddenly, you know, all the darkness and all the horrible, complete lack of command and control and everything was there. But I mean, literally, the next day I'm on staff, you know, I'm on shift. The JAG officer comes in and is like, yeah, we killed him. I'm like, no way. Like, no way. He's like, no, we killed him. And I'm like, fuck. Right. So those two assholes eventually, like, they don't talk or whatever. We've got to send them back to where they came from because you can only hold people for so long. Okay. And like everything was so rigid because of Abu Ghraib. Like they did not want any more oxygen going to anything else like that story. So here I am, like, I think it was like three or 4 days later, in the back of a Chinook 47 helicopter with this stupid fuck who everybody knows is the asshole that kicked this off, right? And they actually sent one of the legal department, you know, lawyers with me and my team, my bodyguard repatriation team, because that was one of my responsibilities there, to make sure that we didn't do anything untoward to him. We get on, like the crew chief's like in my mics, like, hey, if this guy needs to fly, you know, like no one's happy about him. Like, nah, chief, you know, we're not doing that. He's like, yeah, I know, like whatever. Like it was just kind of dark, macabre humor of a bad day. But this guy had been rolled up before. Like he knew the game, he knew the drill, he knew how to like get around it. So he's literally like, he's got his hands, like you handcuff someone's hands like this, you sit him down. And he's got a blindfold on, so he can't see. Like, can't see. So he's literally like, he's screwing with his blindfold. And so I kind of like put it back down on his face. And I'm like, you know, like I don't speak Pashto, I don't speak Uzbek, and I don't speak Tajik, right? And so I put it down. We haven't even taken off, and he's fucking with it again. And I put it back down. I really kind of like smashed it into his face kind of firmly, like, hey, you know, this is not how it works. Jago's sitting right across from him. I'm sitting to the side of him. This motherfucker starts playing it with again, and I just straight up, I mean, I went down and I backhanded the shit out of him. I mean, wham! Comes back, put the thing down. The Jag freaks out. And I just look at him.
For people who don't know, the Jag's the army lawyer. Just so
yeah, the army lawyer. He is freaking out. I go, do you speak Pashto? No. Do you speak Uzbek? No. Tajik? You know, any of this? He's like, no. I'm like, well, neither do I, but I bet he probably understood that. And the whole, like, my team is like, because we've gotten to like, do not screw with this guy. Like, you know, dress right, dress everything. And I'm just like, so, you know, the Jago calmed down and like, you know, obviously it wasn't a thing because, you know, he even later said, he's like, look, man, you probably shouldn't have hit him that hard. But, you know, I understand that you were trying to, you know, I mean, once he stopped, like I left it alone. I'm like, fuck else am I going to do with this guy? I got a 4-hour aircraft ride. So yeah, that was.
Did you feel like in your deployments, like when you finished them up, did you feel like, okay, hey, we accomplished something? Like we did good. We did what we set out to do and we made this place better.
So I would say that for me, like, you've got to remember that I was there in 2002 and 2004, right? Okay. So, and I never went to Iraq. Okay. I would feel so conflicted in my life, especially having friends who've been to Iraq and everything. Like that was a dumpster fire. And especially when you understand sort of oil economics and how the future is spiked and everything, I think there's actually a very compelling, not conspiracy theory, like an actual pragmatic economic conversation about the rise of oil futures when we really invaded and hit it hard, and the rise of R&D for major oil corporations to do shale drilling. And suddenly there's a correlation to it. I'm not saying that that's absolutely what happened, but I'm saying it's almost impossible to not deny. And when you take another step back and you understand how important strategic energy independence is, something that Americans just don't want to talk about, and really want to like the fact that when that really drew down was when we are now oil independent, we are now energy independent from the rest of the world, which we were not when we invaded Iraq. Right. Okay, so when you look at all of that, and maybe this is just the story that I tell myself, but I if that was the national, and I have no knowledge, I'm not privy to this. I just know, having a degree in poli-sci, focusing on the Middle East, international studies, in macro, in game theory, understanding the opportunity cost and seeing some of those trends, I think that that's a narrative that would fit. And as conflicted as I am about it, because far too many of my brothers and sisters died, and far too many of my brothers and sisters now have all of these recurring problems, I at least can separate those feelings enough from, if there was a strategy to, control petroleum stuff, and also, at the same time work towards energy independence. So having, sort of some of that. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. I've got plenty of critiques, but I at least understand some of that thought and some of that rationale, right? But I still, like, if I had to go and fight in it, I probably would feel a very different way. So I'm really lucky. I'm also, for that matter, with Afghanistan, like, everyone that I went after, man, like, everyone that we were on mission, like, that dude had something to do with 9/11, and we were straight up pipe hitting motherfuckers who hit us. Okay. Right. So when it comes to me, like, I am super chill, and I'm super down for what we did, why we did it, who we went after, what our missions were, what we were trying to accomplish. But somewhere around 2008, when it comes to Afghanistan, man, like, I've got, I've talked a little bit, Clint Romashay's in Range 15, which is one of the things, and the Outpost just came out. It's now on Netflix, but, Scott Eastwood plays him, and then Ty Carter, I can't remember who's playing, Caleb Scott Landry plays Ty Carter, who both of them had Medals of Honor in that case. Their mission had flipped from trying to get the people who did 9/11 to trying to pacify a region that Alexander the fucking Great could only do by marrying like a dozen women that were all tribal, princesses and stuff. And it's the only person who's Western who's ever done it, by the way. Like, the Russians failed, the English failed. Like, suddenly we're like trying to get into this. And I have a lot of critiques about that, especially because Stan McChrystal was doing it, who I was his bodyguard when he was the commander of JSOC a couple of times in Afghanistan and stuff. And like, I really would love to pick his brain, sort of like if he had a little truth serum in him, right? To find out a little more of like the political implications versus, because that at those levels, when you start trying to nation build with your standing armies, it gets way more complicated. I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about it with my friends. Like, and by the way, I mentioned The Outpost, definitely a film worth seeing, really good. And also another guy that I served with in 2nd Ranger Battalion, Jericho Denman, was the military advisor on it. So like that, when it comes like the authenticity and things like that, awesome. And then just one of those funny, weird things. He got the opportunity, like they asked him if he'd be into doing it, and they filmed it just outside of Sofia, Bulgaria. And he got the offer. We were traveling through Eastern Europe together. So we're literally like on a train when it comes in on his, on his email or whatever. And so we actually spent an extra day in Bulgaria. So like I fucked around in Sofia, and he went out to like some of the potential sites and everything like that. So it was a weird little thing, but I don't feel great about that stuff. But at some point those become political decisions, not boots on the ground. And, and that, especially with this election cycle, hearing like, oh, we're going to pull our troops back, it actually pisses me the fuck off. Some of the Trump administration things, like leaving the Kurds high and dry, like he did right when he got in, siding with Turkey, like some of these things that just showed a complete lack of understanding about the region and a complete lack of what we were trying to accomplish. At some point, you got to end it. Like, I'm not here like, let's warmonger all the time. But even for example, Somalia, which so many people don't understand, that Somalia, being on the Horn of Africa, right on the Gulf of Aden, the Arabian Sea, all the oil and all the energy for the world moves in and out of that corridor. Okay. Like, it's such a strategic importance of a place, of like how things move and how things travel, because the world is energy reliant. when it comes to oil. Like, it just is. So it's like, if you can't understand that we have a strategic interest, even if we in the US are energy independent, which we now are because of fracking, which is a whole other thing. Like, you need to understand, like, there's still world things that we still, and so we live in a global world, we live in a global economy, and I am certainly at a very finite level critical of a lot of decisions, but sort of the broadsword, like, I don't even think you're thinking this through all the way. That's what really concerns me about it. Is like, this doesn't sound like it's strategic. It doesn't sound like it's intentional. Like, he had no problem going into Syria and wrecking fucking shop, which I totally agreed with when it came to ISIS, and it was totally needed. And I was very critical of the previous administration's drone first. Occasionally we'll drop the hammer with some guys. Like, at some point, like, you just need to let pipe hitters pipe hit for things like this, in my opinion. But like, then, like, okay, we wrecked it, we're leaving. Okay, fine. Now we're gonna leave the Kurds high and dry. What are you doing? They're our only ally in this region besides Israel, which, P.S., they're not getting into this fight for a lot of reasons, right? Like, for a lot of historical reasons. And again, like, my degree's in political science in the Middle East, so it's like, I have like this, like, holy fuck, what are you doing? So to see that's really just kind of disheartening. Like, and it's frustrating, because I feel like it was already a complicated enough boots on the ground, being the troops situation, fighting the war. And now just to see, I mean, at this point, no bullshit, 15 years of just what I see in the macros failed policy across 3 administrations. Okay. Like, this isn't a Dem thing. This isn't a Republican thing. This is a level of strategic critique that I have, because, I mean, really, after 06, 07 in Afghanistan, like, the dudes we were going to shoot, we shot. You know, UBL was still out there. But I mean, even I remember even being there in 04, as we were talking with some of the intel guys, just shooting the shit. And they're like, yeah, he's in Pakistan and he's deep in Pakistan. And like, you know, like, no one was surprised, from all my friends, everyone who knew from my generation or whatever, when we finally found him, where we found him. Like, that was not a shock, you know? So, sitting with a lot of the regimes and the tribes and stuff that we fought, it was all cross-border stuff, and just really, the Haqqani network and things like that. It was just all, it was about stabilization, not necessarily. And we tried to do it in a very Western, very American way. Once again, totally, I'm not saying democracy couldn't work, or I'm not saying that it isn't in a certain level, but our idea of democracy, okay, just like, and the way that other people are going to do it, more of a tribal thing, and understand the tribes in the Northern Alliance, and the Pashtus, and all of that. We've just never done a good job of that, ever. Like, you go all the way back to Iraq and Iran were drawn as lines on a map based on oil. That's why they were drawn, okay? But if you take one step back, you understand Sunni and Shia Islam, and where they have drawn the lines on their maps for thousands, dude, even before Islam, like, the tribal lines are thousands of years. And a team of dumbass white men are like, yo, so we're going to do this. And, oh, by the way, this whole Saudi Arabia thing, we're going to give it to the House of El Saud, which basically boils down to giving the Crips or the Bloods, all right, an entire fucking country full of oil.
Yeah.
Okay, like, that's the TLDR on how did Saudi Arabia happen. We gave a bunch of gangsters, like, the world's most popular and important research, because we thought we could control them with shipping rights. Well, that didn't always work out, like, after the 1950s, and it blew up. And suddenly, the Shah of Iran goes down in the 70s in the Carter administration. It's like there's a chain of events here. It's like, we didn't learn from those mistakes. And then we go to this other place in a really sort of righteous way, because some asshole that, the Clinton administration could have just rolled up. Like, Nigeria's like, he's right there, come get him. He's like, no, I'm good. I had that conversation with someone the other day. It's like you start seeing the chain to it. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not surprised, if you're a student of the history and you understand some of the things. I mean, I'm disappointed. I wish that, someone could have done that a little better. And then just to see, once again, this still 19 years after 9/11, still being sort of like a political punching bag, is just like, man, what the fuck?
Right. Well, I think that's what's so frustrating for everyone. It's like, okay, after 9/11, we knew, okay, we got to go get the guys who did this. We got to go prevent this from happening again. So everyone was on board with that. But yeah, like you said, 19, 20 years later, we're still there. And then you have this problem where if we do leave, we create this vacuum, and you just let, ISIS and whoever come back all over again.
Yep.
And so what do you do when you're stuck in this
I
quagmire?
don't have a good answer.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not
I
going to
don't think
pretend like I got
anyone
a good
does.
answer. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the, you know, that's why people make a lot more money than me or have a lot more influence and have access to a lot more information than I do. I just, you know, but that's also, it makes it really hard. It's like, are you proud of what you did? Like, are you, you know, like I never, especially having been around so many veterans and done advocacy work and all this, like, I am never about ready to tell a veteran how they should feel about their truth. Like, because it's always complicated. I've got some friends that, you know, have major PTSD that, you know, I'm constantly, I'm checking in on, and, you know, what others, I've got other friends that like seem almost unaffected. And the average person, like, oh my God, they're a psychopath. It's like, no, they're not. Like, there's just something in the wiring that broke a little bit, and they're, you know, they're a little bloodlusty. Like, it's not, you know, but I also know what happened to them. Right. Like, you know, and then I've got other people that are completely fine, that just was a phase of my life, whatever, you know, and like in this entire gamut, it's like, but, I mean, the one place I'm super critical is the VA, right? Like, I got nothing but, you know, that pharma thing that just came down with Purdue Pharma and their thing. Like, I want to go in and I want to take every person who's on that deal, and I want to take every senior executive there, and I want to straight up do the Captain America, like 1940s. You take the communists and you take the fascists and crack their skulls. Like, I want it to all the crack. Like, no, like the fact that you fuckers are getting off on this, like, no, man, like, you have not only killed tens of thousands of veterans with your bullshit poison, you have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. You've gotten them hooked. And don't get me wrong, it's still maybe the greatest joke of the past 3 years with Dave Chappelle and his thing goes, but hey, white people, just say no to drugs, right? Like, I mean, but even that, as hard as I laughed, is not fucking worth the price, right? You know, it's like, and like, so those are the things that it gets really hard, where it's the guys that I served with, the, you know, even when I was a combat tactics instructor in college in the National Guard and training people up to send them over, like all that, I'm super proud of those people. I love those people. I mean, you know, I'm so there for that. But all the periphery, all the ancillary, when it goes away from the guy to your left and right, you know, or the guys in your unit, and starts going to like when the politics started getting to the periphery and some of those questions, like, it just gets really hard. Because, like, you know, you could take my platoon in 2002, and I will stack them up against fucking anybody and be like, go wreck it. We'll get it done.
Yeah.
Just crush it, you know? And then you get, you know, but suddenly it's like, okay, well, now we need to, you know, pay for doors. And now, you know, it's just, there comes a point where I understand the necessity of it, especially, you know, with my degree and some of the other things I've done in the reading and understanding, like how, like, the sociological impacts and the ripples are going to positively or negatively. My professor, my last 2 years of college, that was a mentor to me that I worked with, his name was Dr. Steven Seitz. And he had, I think his PhD, I don't know if his PhD was in poli-sci or if it was in psychology, but he worked in both departments. And what he created was this fascinating model, behavioral driven model. And it started with the premises that roughly 15% of the populace, similar to sort of like a political, especially in like the political map, where it's like, you know, they say right now, anywhere from 20 to 25%, no matter what, they're voting straight ticket one way or the other. Forget about them, right? It's that 40 to 50% in the middle that you've got to convince, and that's how you're going to swing your election. Well, he took modeling and methodology similar to that, and he applied it to asymmetrical warfare. So, and it was roughly 15% are always going to be ride or die us, and 15% is always going to be ride or die the bad guys, right? How, and then it's a choose your own adventure novel. How do you interact with them? What do you do? How do you positively impact? And then it gets even geometrically more complicated, because you can do a great job in one village, right? But when the wife of the tribal chief goes over to talk to her compatriot and have the kids, and suddenly they're talking, and we're doing an awful job over here in the other one, this dude who might have been super pro us, who might have been close to that 15%, suddenly they might not be. Right. Suddenly they might now be new, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, but he plotted that, and, you know, he picked my brain about it a lot. And like, that's how it works. Right. So that's another thing, that when you understand, if that's how they're looking at it, you can flip that around in a mirror and say that my experience as a soldier is going to be different from that person's who's a Marine, who's in the Air Force, who that other soldier. And like, you just see that, like, it's a very, you know, it was a very personalized thing when it's all said and done.
But I mean, that's just human nature. I remember, you think about the American Revolution, and you would think that all the Americans, of course, were behind that. They all wanted independence, but I forget the
Right.
numbers. But I remember reading that something like 1/3 of people did want independence. They were all in on the war.
Yep.
1/3 were actually loyalists. They were loyal to
Yep.
Britain, and 1/3 just kind of wanted to live their life.
Yeah.
And even in a war like that we think is the most
Yeah.
just war that's ever been fought, in
Yeah.
American history, like it was still that divided.
Yeah. And the other thing, I mean, history, it's my favorite thing I always says, history is just that, it's his story, right? And who writes the stories? Dude who fucking won.
Yep.
Right. Like, so, am I really surprised that, Washington and Hamilton and Madison and all those guys knew how to spin a good tale? Like, I've read the Federalist, the Anti-Federalist papers. Those dudes could write like a motherfucker.
Yep.
Right. Oh, of course they told a good story, it's like, but, history is very rarely sort of that black and white, and frankly, that charitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
want to ask you about getting out. So you did or separating, they call it. So you did your last tour in 2004. How long?
Mm-hmm.
How much longer were you in before you separated?
3 weeks.
Oh, really?
No, 6 weeks. So I got out. I got back. I immediately went through the clearance process. It was 6 weeks I was still in. It was 3 weeks after I separated. I was in an 8 a.m. economics class at the University of Illinois, and it is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. And knowing my ex-wife, no, I've done some dumb fucking shit, right?
Yeah. So, okay. I want to break you. There was a lot in that. I want to break that down. Okay. So did you know before that last tour that you were going to get out when you got back?
So actually, funny story. I knew I was getting out, and I had taken the ACTs, I had done everything, and I had applied to all the colleges, and I was actually overseas, and I was getting my acceptance or rejection letters in my mail coming overseas. Wow. Okay. And also I'd get like emails of it too. Like my roommates, like, like they would scan it in like old school, and like I'd get the email. So, University of Washington, I applied to, I get in. UT Austin, I applied to, I get in, right? University of Illinois, Chicago, University of Illinois, all get me. My reach school that I put as my reach school was Georgetown. Okay. Now this is all coming into a community email address because it's the only like unsecured one that we have. So like everyone can see it, which whatever, fine. And no one says a goddamn thing about all my, acceptance letters, right? But guess what's sitting on the big ass fucking plasma flat screen when I walk in the day? And that was, thank you, too bad, so sad, from Georgetown. I'm like, fuck you guys, man. Like, boom, right out on Front Street. You suck.
Of course.
I'm like, hate you guys.
Of course.
So I was getting all of that. I had, I knew, just with the Illinois Veterans Grant, which is basically very similar to what's now called the post 9/11 GI Bill, that wasn't in place, obviously, for me. So I basically got that same experience with the IVG. Washington and Texas had similar programs, but both of them had said that I was gonna have to wait a year, then apply for state. And then I was like, all right, the poli-sci programs aren't that much better than Illinois. Like, I'm gonna do like the for free thing. So I chose University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Like I was gonna come home. So like I'm getting all of that ready. And so I get back and I'm trying to transition. I'm trying to do all of that. And like, I couldn't get like over that summer, I couldn't go to like my orientation and stuff. So I went to the last orientation at the University of Illinois that they had. So I'm signing up for I took a speech pathology class because I needed it for like credits and stuff. And it was one of the few things that looked interesting that I could get into that was going to fit my electives and stuff. Like it was just really it was this crazy, I'm taking all survey courses at 9 a.m, cause I'm or 8 a.m, type thing. Like it was just a really odd schedule. Everything's just crazy. Like I ended up with a 2-bedroom apartment, 2 blocks from campus and I got it for less than what a 1-bedroom would have cost because they just wanted someone in the unit. And the guy's like, listen, you're a combat vet, so clearly you're not fucked up. I trust you, I'm in the middle of cornfields. So they're like, sure. Great. It's old boy. But the funny story about all of that, go into the counselor. Here's my schedule. Like you still have to write it down and everything. And they give it to me. And so what about your dorm situation? I'm like, I am 23 years old and I am not going to be living in one of your dorms. I am going to get, off campus accommodations. And she's like, well, we really encourage everyone, at least for the first year. And I'm like, ma'am, it's not happening. And she's like, well, Mr. Amenta, I see that you are a veteran. So you've been in the barracks, I don't want, I'm like, ma'am, so let me explain to you what's going to happen. If you force me to go into the dorms, I'll listen. I mean, I'll do it if I have to. But what's going to happen is that this 18-year-old who has no life experience, unlike me, is going to piss me off. I'm going to lock them in the closet, probably tape their mouth shut. Maybe I'll let them out for class. She looks at me, she's like, you don't need to be in the like, you think? Like, you know, I mean, it was like, I mean, of course, it's like, oh, she's freaking out. Like, I'm like, listen, I know I get an exception for being an adult student. Like, I hated the barracks. I'm not going to fucking like the dorms, you know? So yeah, so, I mean, it was a fucking shit show, man. And then, so I get out, I'm in this 8 a.m. economics class, and I'm like feeling super, super uncomfortable. And, you know, Army Rangers don't exactly do well with their emotions to begin with. So like, I'm fine. And I put on my Ranger Rendezvous shirt. So I changed command, like you'd always have like the shirt, and it had Afghanistan on one side, on one shoulder, and Iraq on the other one. And it said Ranger Rendezvous. And the artist said, we do bad things to bad people. Who's next? And I'm like, right? Because like I'm just like, this is like, I'm just gonna like, I'm uncomfortable, like whatever, like, you know, I actually put real pants on, like, you know, like I'm just like, oh, I'm sitting down, and this dude who looked, I mean, like, I'm not kidding, like white dude, dreads, like every cliche white hippie dude thing you can ever think of. Like, I wish it wasn't that bad, because people are like, oh yeah, right, no, it really wasn't that bad. He's like, yo, bro, yeah, that shirt, dude, it's kind of aggressive, man. I'm like, bro, you haven't seen aggressive yet. Get the fuck away from me, right? Whoa, man, chill. I'm like, there is no chill if you're critiquing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is.
You're fresh off the boat from Afghanistan. Class, okay? How many weeks ago did you say it was that you had gotten back, that you had then started school?
9 weeks total.
Wow.
It was 9 weeks total.
Wow.
I mean, and I had been out
from direct action. I mean, you were in combat in that tour. Yeah. It was. I should not have done it. I was not. And for me personally, it led to a lot of problems. I mean, it really did. I drank way too much. I mean, that was the one time in my life, like that winter was the one time that I almost tried to kill myself, because it was just, you know, I'd gotten into this crazy ritual. I just was not coping well. It wasn't just, you know, the tour. It wasn't just leaving the military. Like I would encourage everyone, like, if you want to understand, like, the emotions and everything, it's one of the 3 books that I tell every veteran when they're separating they need to read, and it's Sebastian Junger's Tribe. Super short book. It's like 120 pages, and it's like this big. Like, I mean, literally, you can sit down on a Sunday afternoon after your football game and read it. You know, if you've watched the 1 p.m. game and you skip the 4:30, you can have it almost done by the time Sunday Night Football happens. Like, it's a short read. It's a great read. The whole thesis is that you don't, the PTSD and stuff, it's way less of like the traumatic experiences that have happened. And as someone who has a lot of trauma in their life, that's not just military, like I definitely sign off on this, but it's the losing that family, it's losing that dynamic, it's losing that tribe that you had, and being uncertain. And I definitely felt that. But like I got into this ritual. I would clean my pistol. I mean, just like every night. I mean, I'm talking like take it apart, put it back together, like clean it. And dude, to this day, I still can't tell you exactly. Like, one day I'm just sitting there and the hammer's back, and I'm just here, and I'm shaking. And finally I put it down. I called my best friend. I'm just sobbing. Like, it was the first time I had cried in so long. I couldn't. I'm just completely freaking out. The sad part is that story is in no way, shape, or form unique. I mean, honestly, if you're going to pull one thing about why that story might be unique, it's the fact that I didn't pull the trigger. It hurts me so badly to say that, but that's the truth. You know, the 22 a day hasn't gotten any better. 22 suicides a day from veterans is the statistic. Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten any better. It's because that's if there's one failing that I'll be critical of every administration and every major politician, is that no one has figured out the program or figured out the way. And I actually don't think it's a government. I don't think necessarily the government can. I think the older that I get, the more I realize, like, that has to be such an interpersonal, that has to be such a you and me, you know, like I'm a big part of Merging Vets and Players, or MVP, the organization that Jay Glazer and Nate Boyer started, because, you know, Jay was seeing athletes suffering this. Nate was, you know, former SF, walk on to Texas, you know, had a cup of coffee with the Seahawks in training camp, and they sort of brought it together. And it's like that, you know, that works out really well. You know, OSD is another, you know, nonprofit that I work with, and the focus is always on like the mental health and like becoming engaged. You know, Team RWB, you know, is another one that's great for that. You know, you really have these programs that their focus is trying to get that. And there definitely needs to be a component of that, but the VA can do so much better.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing, like it's hard, and it just, I didn't cope well. I didn't well. I mean, it was a good thing on some levels, I guess, that like I got so focused. Like I got into radio and I learned how to get really good at that because I needed a new mission in my head. Like at the end of the day, people like me need that, and certainly wasn't going to be my schoolwork. And it certainly, there's only so many times that I can piss off a TA or a professor in my first 2 years at school to where they demand that I come to office hours. All right, story time. Like this is a total, I mean, I've been telling them all day, but this one is still one of my favorites of all time. I had a professor who had just gotten her PhD from NYU in the sociology department. Now, my uncle, Edwin Amenta, you can look him up, he's at UC Irvine. At that time, he was NYU. He'd been the chairman of the department. He is an unquestionable, unfuckwithable expert on FDR's New Deal policies. Okay, the dude has written like 6 books on it. I mean, he is a straight up gangster and he's a straight up fucking rock star in that world. And Ed does everything with panache and style, like the point where he'll put like an old school vintage baseball jersey, because he loves baseball like I do, under his blazer. And that's like how he does lectures and how he does like talks and how like the dude is like, I got my style in large
He's an
part
Amenta.
from watching my uncle when I was a kid. For real. Like, I mean, I took some lessons, right? Ed's a big personality. And so she was teaching this globalization sociology course that I took. And she comes in and tells everyone right off the bat that she's a communist, not a socialist, a communist, that there's going to be a protest against Chipotle, of all fucking things, for their hiring practices and their pay. And she's encouraging all of us. And like, I'm sitting here, I'm really mostly moderate in my politics. But the one thing that you are going to piss me off is if you're in the education side, don't tell me how to think, challenge my thinking. Because if you can't do that, we're going to play a game that's called hide and go fuck yourself, or hide and I'm going to go be difficult, right? And the other dude right next to me, and we just became like souls immediately. His name was John, and he was one of the darkest skinned African-Americans I've ever met in my life. Like John was, and he was super, super conservative. I mean, he was like past Rush Limbaugh, all right, okay? And we got to look at each other, and I got a personality, and I do like, oh, this is on. So, I mean, commence guerrilla warfare in Courses 101, because for all of you kids listening, if you're still in college, here's a dirty little secret about your professors. All of them, including your TAs. They know this much that is this deep, okay, about one thing in their field, especially with the survey course. So if you find out, like you can always do the research, they got their PhD, what they did for their thesis and everything, don't fuck with that. But find something that isn't that they haven't published on and get really, really smart on it. And if you want to walk in and be a guerrilla terrorist of your college course, let me tell you how well that works. Great success. High five. And so John and I would trade off, man. We're just like, and finally she's like, I want to see you. And of course I'm the ringleader here because I was. I want to see you in my fucking office. Like, whatever, cool. Great. So she walks in. She goes, I have a question for you. And I'm like, oh, great. Here. And by the way, she's not the first person I've done this to. This is like the 3rd or 4th professor that I've terrorized like this, okay? Like, this is not new for me. I'm like, oh, great, whatever. At least she didn't take me to the dean. That's another story that's too long that we won't tell. So she's like, I do have a question for you. I'm like, yeah, what's up? She goes, your last name's Amenta. I'm like, yeah. She goes, any relation? I knew she went to NYU. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. She's like, any relation to, I go, Dr. Edwin Amenta? I go, yeah, that's my uncle. I swear on my combat scroll, hand of God, the next words out of her mouth is, well, I think that your uncle would be very disappointed in your behavior in my class.
Oh, God.
This is the dude, by the way, that I'm like 3, 4, 5 years old. And by the way, his other brother is one of the most renowned ear, nose, and throat specialists on the southern side area of Chicago. His other sister is a lawyer. My dad is the most natural salesperson you've ever met. My grandmother was doing sales and marketing for the AMA, the American Medical Association, for years. And my grandfather was one of the dentists that championed and pioneered preventive dentistry and got fluoride put in water. Okay, that's my family. And you put those people around a table, our big, loud Italian asses, and we argue politics. And the rules are have a good thesis and be able to defend it. Okay? And I'm like, I pull my phone. I hand it to Eric. I pull my phone out of my pocket. I get to his number. I go, call him. Excuse me? I go, call him. I'm like, tell him exactly what I'm doing. Or I promise you it's not going to work out nearly the way that you think it's going to. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I grew up around the kitchen table talking politics with him at my grandmother's. Okay, like Ed and I don't see eye to eye on a lot politically, but for the love of God, I have no doubt that I will be able to defend my thesis in this satisfactorily enough for him to roll his eyes and go, "Well, I don't like it." And she's like, "I go, no, I'm serious. Call him. I promise you, he'll pick up if he's available."
Of course, right.
Like that was me in college, dude. Like It's like, so clearly like that dude is not, obviously, like I joke, my GPA was a 2.9 in school, and that class and some of the other ones, I can point out the half grade or the quarter grades, like the minus or the plus or whatever that I got docked that would have gotten me to my 3.0. Like I can pull my transcript out and go, I know this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Like I know it. Like it's there. It's like all this objective shit. Whatever, man.
I want to go back because I think this is really important for people who, other veterans or people who might be in this situation. That day that you had your pistol, you decided to put it down. Yeah. What did you do then? Did you go and get help? Like when did you realize, like, okay, I can't keep doing this?
I just sort of the makeup of my personality, and I honestly don't even know exactly why I am this way. It's just, and you've been around me long enough to know that if chime in as you feel appropriate, because you and I have actually legitimately gone through some shit in our lives and we've done it together. And so like, I just sort of bit down on my mouth guard that day and I said, I'm never doing this again. I don't, whether it was, I would run 20 miles. I would go to the gym and just destroy myself. I would, which is all stuff I know you've seen me do in my life. Like I made this decision right there that no matter what, I was never going to get myself so overwhelmed. I mean, I drank my fucking face off to the point where I would pass out like in the back of a cab, and the cabbie couldn't, like literally just kick me out of the cab, and I woke up on the concrete, like right under my building. Like anything you could think of but killing myself. Like I found a way to like, I'm never doing that again. And I should have gone and gotten help. And I mean, it was one of those things like, now, like, so if you sort of pull the string, the next major traumatic thing in my life was, my now ex-wife telling me she's leaving, and all this stuff comes out where she's been with a whole bunch of other guys. And like, like, that was when I finally walked into a therapist's office. That's when I finally am like, yo, I'm not okay. I am not, I'm not, there's nothing right about this situation. I need help. And part of the problem really boils down, and this is one of the things I really believe, and this is where I get so critical of the VA and I get so critical of the transformation process, is especially in men, our forebrain, our full cognition and our full higher function, brain function isn't fully developed until 25 or 26. You had so many veterans of my generation behind me and veterans today that are getting in at 18, okay, because they buy the hype. All right. Some people serve for a lot of different reasons, but there was certainly this class like I did where I believed, the be all you can be, and I wanted to be, this heroic rock star. And not only do I want to serve my country and drape myself in the red, white, and blue, but I wanted to be the badass motherfucking, Shugart Gordon, who won the Medal of Honor in Somalia. Like I bought in hard, right? Super proud of my service, did all this stuff. But now I got out, I'm 23. Okay. So I still don't have that full cognition. I have gone from, and you have to do this in the military. Like I've trained guys to go to war. Okay. So like, and we were awarded the highest honor you can have as an instructor house to do this. So like, I'm good at it. You have to get people to believe that they are the best at what they do, whether they are or not. You have to get them to believe that they are Billy fucking badass himself, and get them to run through a wall. Because if you don't, you're going to fail on the day. And there's a lot of drilling. There's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of finding a way to take something that should be a higher brain function and flip it to your midbrain so you just react. That's why. So for example, when you see military qualifications with pop-up targets, it pops up, you shoot it, you hit it, it goes immediately down. It's totally the decision point is I pull trigger, did it drop? It's not anything else. It's not all the other things that your higher brain can get worked up on. It's I go boom, did it drop? Right. And you have all of that completely through the entire training process. But the negative of it, the dark side to it, on some levels, the horror of it is that you can't take this person that you've built all the way up, that you've built to just react, right? All midbrain. Take them out of this environment that has been, for the most part, safe. I'm making a little bit of a generalization with, assaults, and like there are, but for the most part has been safe. For the most part, that has been relatively healthy. In some cases, when, some of the backgrounds people come from, the first semi-healthy environment they've ever been in their life, that they have a certain level of safety. And even if you didn't like people, like I hated my roommate when I was in the Rangers, when I was in the barracks, but I knew that guy had my back going through a door. Like that was never in question. Like I could dislike him personally, and I did, and he didn't like me too much. But when it came to work, it was business, and you really had that ethos. Suddenly, you take them all of that, you uproot them, you either drop them back into where they were, right? And suddenly, that entire system that gets someone to be a great service member, that gets them to be a great soldier, is completely working against them. Okay, like that midbrain wiring, that midbrain programming doesn't work anymore. It doesn't solve for every day. It doesn't solve for, especially if you're young and got married, and increase that stress. So now you and your wife actually have to face each other as husband and wife, not military spouse to military service member. Suddenly you get people asking you about these experiences that you frankly haven't even processed all that well. Lord knows I hadn't processed Pat Tillman dying, 9 weeks after, I guess like 10 or 11 weeks after it happened, is someone's asking me about it on a college campus because I was dumb enough to mention it. Like suddenly it's like none of that happens. And the mental rewiring that you have to do for yourself, the mental where you have to start telling yourself, like you have to come to this really harsh reality. And that's what I did of, I'm not quite as badass as not that I was led to believe. Like that's one of the things I want to be really careful about. Like there's a component of training that is like, you are required, and you were that fucking good at that one thing in your life. Maybe that's what it's like there isn't a service member I've met that isn't really fucking good at that thing, right? That isn't that badass, that hasn't eventually not bought in, worked hard, and elevated themselves to that level, whether it was service member, whatever, like you'll get there. But it's suddenly now you have to be a different type of human. Right. Now you have to have a different thing. Now you have a different message. And guess what? You're not that good at it because it's trial and it's error. And suddenly all that wiring and all that investment, it takes a lot of money to train a good troop. And all of that reinforcement and all of that stuff. And that's why I tell people, read the book Tribe. Like you really get Younger does a great job with the psychology and the difference between PTSD and post-traumatic growth. And, it's something you've got to do. You don't, it's not there. And there's never been the programs don't exist at the sort of government support function. It's been left to private organizations that all have their own ideas. Some are great ideas. Some, like Gallant Few is another one that I've worked with. That's a great organization and very Ranger focused. And I love those guys. They do a great job with it. And they've gotten buy-in from the unit, by the way. Like there's a handoff process now at the 75th Ranger Regiment where it's like, we are going to get you to be a complete transition. That didn't exist for me. Like, but they recognize it at least. But, they also have special operations funding, and they have special operations alum with a lot of money, and, like you can do that. Your average line troop doesn't quite have that. And that's where it's sad, man. Like it really, and that's where, again, like you've got to have a plan. And if you look at armies throughout the world, the truth is that you don't have the plan. But the final thing that makes it so hard, and so for this generation from Vietnam to now, these generations of veterans, is the time that you would spend coming home. Like from World War II, okay, when you came home on a ship. So you'd board the transatlantic liner with all your boys, and you'd sail for 2.5 weeks into New York Harbor. And what happened? You talked about it.
Yeah,
you're like, hey, remember that time. And because you trust those guys, like Brene Brown, when she talks about like her SF guys and the vulnerability, it kind of bothers me because she sort of cherry picks like everything of what that story had to have entailed, having been the guy that has shared that. But her point's really good. It's like, you trust those people with your life. You have a level of vulnerability with those people that you will probably never have again, except for maybe your spouse or like a partner or something like that. Like it's so rare. So you take all those people with all that trust and all that shared vulnerability, because you can hold it sacred, and you're going to give them 2.5 weeks to eat some chow, play some cards, bullshit, and talk. Like that was the first thing that Doug Taylor told us when we got back in 2002. He goes, gentlemen, there's a story about how him and his guys did it after every mission in Delta. And I'm not going to blow him up like that. That was their thing. And he's like, it's not me. I know I'm your commander, but all of you are friends and all of you have a thing. And what you guys need to do is get together and have that moment and talk it through and be honest about it. And he goes, because he started off with, and Doug didn't usually swear, he's like, raise your hand if you were scared out there. No one raises, no one. We're fucking good, bro. He goes, you're all fucking full of shit. And what? Like, Doug Taylor just swore. And he's like, fine. You know, you guys all have your people. You all have your crew. So me and four of my boys, we all went out to Red Robin. Okay. And between, like, I don't know how many bottomless things of fries that we had that night. I mean, we were there for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, we ordered everything on the menu. We were starving, but like, we talked it all through. On my tour in 2004, 2 of the guys that I was with, one of them was my roommate, and another one that we, you know, we had served with. We went and met up with a bunch of AFSOC, Air Force Special Operations guys down in Pensacola, went to the nicest steakhouse that they had. I mean, just straight up burned, like, there's 5 of us. I think we spent like $750 in 2004 money. Okay. Like, we went huge, dude. And then like the steakhouse manager figured out what was going on and ended up like comping us like the cigars, because he'll smoke inside at that point in Florida. So we're sitting there by the end of it with a great scotch and a cigar, and we're talking about everything. That's the missing piece, but you need it at scale. Like, yeah. I'm really comfortable with what I did overseas, if that makes sense. I'm really comfortable with my service. Like, I sort of worked that out. But what was so hard for me was not having that tribe anymore, not having that sort of day-to-day. And once that was ripped away from me, and suddenly I'm in this new place where I'm uncomfortable, I'm not as good at this thing, at this sort of life as I was as my other life. I feel completely alone. And I don't have the higher brain cognitive function to sort of sort myself my way through it. And it wasn't good, man. It was a, you know, and the worst thing is, and you know, that joke, like, check on your friends to make sure they're okay. Like, from the outside, I know I looked good. I mean, I looked like a hard partying, you know, college student who, you know, I'd be at frat parties with my friends, and like, they think I'm great because I'm going up to like the hottest girl at the party and being like, you should thank me for my service. And the line's working. Okay. They're like,
I bet.
You know, like, it's like, you know, like to the outside, I look like I'm having the time of my life, right. You know, and like 3 weeks after that story, after that night that happened, I'm calling my best friend in complete tears because my 45's, you know, cock locked and loaded. And, you know, I'm freaking out. Like, it's, you know, I mean, people vilify it because Hillary Clinton was the one that wrote the book and said it, but on a lot of levels in life, it really does take a village. Right. And if the village, and I think that a lot of veterans oftentimes feel like the village doesn't fully understand us because so few people have gone through it. And there's a decreasing amount of veterans in this country. Like, just not as many people serve. Like, there's not the Great War like World War II, or there's not the mandatory draft like Vietnam. And you've got a lot of sort of family legacy service, so that decreases the talent pool even more. There's this I feel like sometimes this level of like vilification, like, oh, you know, like the man is trying to, you know, take your youth in service of his war machine and giving you the peanuts of a free college fund. Like, hey, motherfucker, I had no debt from college, and let me tell you how fucking great that was. Okay. Like, so, you know, I mean, so you have these competing narratives. And that's the other thing, like the final thing about it too, that makes it so hard, is you have 2 competing narratives about the American veteran.
Yeah. On
one hand, I'm a hero. I am worthy of praise. The NFL, you know, sings my praises, and every, you know, it's always the veteran that comes out at halftime, or, you know, whatever your sport is. I mean, I'm in Chicago, every single sport backed by one of the big, you know, aerospace defense companies are thanking some vet for their service. Yeah. Right. I'm a hero. On the other hand, I'm a ticking time bomb of PTSD just waiting to go off, and I'm not hireable because I'm scary. I mean, but they're both competing, and guess what? They're both fucking wrong. Like, that's the most frustrating thing about it. And the thing when I do a lot of veterans advocacy is I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, we're just people. We're just people that have a different set of skills and have a different life experience that actually is really, really valuable to your organization, you know, assuming that individual veteran has gotten over themselves. Because the other thing, and there's one thing that your people take away from this. Like, hear me when I say, when I try and be fair to veterans, like the absolute worst American on earth is the 10% whiny vet bro who has never figured out that he's not as super special, star-spangled awesome as they think they are. They're the fucking worst, and I can't stand it. Like, I mean, maybe it's because it's my tribe and I know how the depths of these people go, but that fucking vet bro, oh my God, dude, like that, the most snowflakey behavior on earth. And they're the person that's lashing out at everyone. And like, you should think, you know, I mean, I've gotten emails from from vets, like with these nonprofits I work with, they'll be like, I was trying to get like this video game, or I was trying to get this whatever, and they were all gone. And I just want you to know that you triggered my PTSD, and you really should. And like, it's going on and on and on. I'm like, motherfucker, go spend $60 for it. Like, you're not entitled to a goddamn thing. There's no one worse than that 10% when it comes to entitlement and stupid shit. Like, I love my tribe. I love my people, but I swear to God, that's the little brother that I just want to beat like a drum.
But I mean, I think you're right that so much of it is people don't understand. The general population doesn't understand what veterans go through and what veteran families go through, because, I didn't serve, but I come from a military family, and I know, my mom was a fucking rock when my dad was deployed, but I know she felt really alone because people didn't understand. People would make jokes to her like, "Oh, how's your husband doing on vacation?" And she's like, I'm raising 3 kids. I'm trying to run a house. Like, it's not vacation. And maybe they just didn't, they thought that maybe I can lighten the mood by saying these things, but people don't understand what it is that veterans and military families go through. And we were National Guard too, so it was even worse. It wasn't like she was on base somewhere where there were other wives around. I mean, we were surrounded by civilians, and
dude, I tell people all the time, having been in the Guard, the absolute best soldiers that I've ever met in my life were in the Guard. Now, in fairness, the worst were too. Like, it was all the reason that you got in for it. But I mean, you know this. I mean, I remember talking to you about this. Like, I had my opportunity, like, am I going to stay in the Guard, or am I going to get out with Ranger up? I'm like, I am the fuck out of this. I am just like too busy. Like, the minute I had a chance, like, I bailed. And I know people that stayed and they continue to do that, and they're still a part of it. And it's just, it's double the stress for no money. I mean, like, you're losing, like, like, I know your dad, and I know what he did. Like, he was losing money when he got called to active duty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like, suddenly, like, in addition to your dad being gone, being in a dangerous position, you not being able to know anything. Oh, by the way, we just took a 30% haircut. Thanks, honey. Like, I mean, but people do it. Like, it's there is that sense of service. There is that, and it's one of the hallmarks, I think, and what makes us one of the greatest countries in the world, that people will still sign up and still buy into that, and believe it and see it. Like, there is value to it. It's just hard. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. And you and I have talked about this before, but it's like, people always like, well, if you could do one thing, right? If I could wave the magic wand, and my one policy that absolutely had to happen here in the United States, it would be you have to serve for 2 years. It can be the Army. It can be the Peace Corps. It can be AmeriCorps. I am not the person that's going to tell you where to go. Like, my little brother, I love him to death. That dude is not military material. It is nothing personal to John. He's just not that guy, right? And I don't want him to go through this hellaciously awful experience in the name of, that's not going to help. But you put everyone together like that. That was the greatest thing about the military, and the greatest thing for me, especially in these hyper divisive times. The dude in the bunk directly next to me was from Compton. Okay. I mean, literally Compton, California. Okay. He could listen. We'd walk by the pistol ranges. He could tell you what the pistol was by the sound of it, whether it was a 9, a 45, like whatever. Like, that was his life. That was his, like, okay, 18 years old, just like me. And I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, upper middle class. Like, interacting with that person, interacting with my buddy who grew up in Iowa in the cornfields, or New Hampshire, like, you see the entire country. You see, suddenly what you realize really, really quick in an environment like that, and this is what I think is so sorely lacking in this country right now, is my idea of America is not your idea of America. And guess what? Neither one of us are wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's our experience. Because the American dream can mean a million fucking things to a million fucking people. Apparently, it means to my dog that she wants to. So, Athena, come on.
Get Athena on camera. Let the world see her.
All right, let's see if we can.
That's all right.
All right, we're gonna have to, like, pan down. Oh, she walked away. Never mind. I would have done it for you, but she was like, "No, fuck you, human."
I miss her.
It means so many different things to so many different people, and I think we've lost that. And that was, like, the greatest thing about my military services. I never forget. Like, you've seen my Facebook before. I've got super liberal people on there and super conservative and everything in between. And right now, because I'm just that dickhead of a person, I'll throw a little chum out there and watch them freak the fuck out. Okay. And some of my friends, I shake my head. I'm like, how can you have bought in on both sides? How can you have bought into that lie? Right? How could you have bought into that? But at the same time, like, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Like, one of my buddies who also does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, he's up in New Jersey. Like, him and I are so not political, like, whatever. But I'll tell you what, like, Rob, like, we ended as we're just bickering like fucking 5-year-olds. He's like, hey, by the way, you need to get your ass up to New Jersey. We need to train some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like that's, but you get that. Like, you have that understanding. Like, I don't have to agree with everything. And as long as you have a relatively reasonable source of truth, if you will, like, I'm not saying like suddenly it doesn't matter as much. Suddenly, like, the humanity, the Americanism, like what we're all trying to fight for, like the better and being a part of the greatest nation on earth becomes the thing. Yeah. And I feel like, especially as someone, we didn't get to it, but as someone who's become an expert in using social media, one, to propagate message, and two, frankly, if I choose to turn on my black hat, manipulate things, the fact that it is so hard for so many Americans to see that my idea of America and your idea of America both are okay and both actually are America. That's like the little crack that all of this, Russia, all, like, that's the thing that's being exploited. That's the thing that's just driving this fissure. Yeah. And the thing that I always tell people, it's like, I'm like, listen, I go, who's a politician you've ever agreed with 100% of the time? Instantly, nobody. I go, 80%. Well, and suddenly you start realizing, like, there's always at least 25% or so, for someone who's ever sort of thought this through. Like, it's like, okay, so if you're never agreeing with them, like, so how much, flip it around the other way, even if it's only 25% that you agree with the other person, there is a level of commonality. Like, love him or hate him, I saw this clip with Pete Buttigieg, who's just getting thrashed by this Trump guy, right? And he looks at him like, hey, will you denounce white supremacists? And the guy's like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, well, then we agree on something. At least we have a starting point. Yeah. Right? Like, love him, hate him, whatever. Like, that's the message that service to me brings, is that we all have a common starting point. We all have a foundation of some place where we are going to be, and we're going, and we can go to. And yeah, maybe I disagree with who should be paying what tax, or yeah, this budget, this or that, or this, that, or, but so many of those issues, man, like, the truth of the matter is we don't agree with the politicians fucking on it anyway. We just choose which one we think might almost get there, hold our nose and go, well, fuck it, please don't screw this up. Right. Yeah. And that's just the thing to me, I think we're missing so much of. That's what I learned from service, is that, I don't have to agree with you all the time. Yeah. There's, like, listen, as long as you're not a fascist and as long as you're not a communist, because Captain America taught me what to do with those, and those crack your heads together. Like, we can probably find a way to at least agree to disagree, as long as we choose to be reasonable people and not, me fucking with a socialist sociology professor, or, when I was in college.
That's what I tell people all the time. I say, my friends who have served always seem to be the most moderate politically, because they've seen the worst of humanity. They know how bad it really can get. And so they don't freak out all that much at what's going on here, because for all the problems we have, it can be so much worse. And as long as we can agree on those basic American values, all the other little stuff, I just don't care all that much about when in comparison to how bad the world really can be.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, is at the end of the day, what I care about is America. All right. I don't, I'm a student of history, so I understand that as star-spangled awesome as I see this country, I understand that being a white person from an upper middle class suburb, the America that I grew up in is not the America that a lot of people grew up. It is not, Anthony, the dude that grew up in Compton. Okay. His America, and he just happened to have been a black guy. His America was a very different experience. And I will never forget, to this day, the one ass whipping I should have gotten that he just decided to grace me out of was when I actually asked him about the donut shop in the Dr. Dre video, and if the donuts were as awesome as they looked in the music video. And he's like, motherfucker, that's not in Compton. Oh, right. Suddenly, it was one of those things, like, by the way, that donut shop I'm talking to, it's also the one that in Iron Man 2, he's in the middle of, that Samuel L. Jackson tells him to get down. It's the same one. He's like, that's not in fucking Compton. But then it started a conversation, because some of the other guys like, dude, you dumbass, you cannot ask him about it. You can't do that, right? And I'm like, what do you mean you do that? It's like and then suddenly it's like you see it, and it's like there's a fine line in everything. It's like you have to be fucking blind to not see some of the inequalities that are in the U.S. and these places that we can improve. Like, if you can't at least acknowledge that, then I have then I'm like, yo, you're that dickhead, and I'm done with you.
Right.
I think that most reasonable people, it's how do we get there? Yeah. And I think that it's also how uncomfortable are you willing to be in the conversation and how much are you willing to step out of your comfort zone? Like, this, I sold my stake in Ranger Up, the company that I helped them, and I went and traveled all the way around the world. And if there was, I was in 30 something countries in 56 cities and, cities and regions for a little over 4 months. And if there's one lesson that I learned in all of that is how remarkably similar we are across cultural divides, right? And also, frankly, how fucking awesome America is. Like how, one of the, this didn't matter almost at all to me. I did it as an afterthought. I was in India, and I was in New Delhi, and the gentleman that was like a cab driver, like they call them tuk-tuks, like the rickshaws type thing. He had a really nasty infected cut on his hand. All right. And because I was traveling by myself and solo, like I took about 15% of my thing and I brought a med kit. I looked at him and I said, he spoke enough English. I'm like, can I fix your hand? It's like, what? I'm like, I have medicine, can I? And like, it was bad, dude. I mean, it was all pussy. It was all like, this was something that was clearly infected, clearly fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, it might hurt a little bit. It's like, no, that's fine. So, pulled out my my antibiotic ointment and, scrubbed it out, he didn't complain too much, like bandaged it up, I said, paid him for the ride. I said, thank you very much. And I walked off. Like, I'm not thinking whatever, man. Like, this is just I wake up the next morning and he's clearly been there for hours waiting for me. And he's like, where would you like to go? I'm like, no, it's I was going to walk. He's like, no, I'll take you. He's like, no charge. I'm like, no, it's fine. And like the gratefulness and everything, like, so like we're talking all day, like he is taking me around, showing me places that I'm never going to find as the tourist in my hostel and whatever. And, like we talked, like, it was just that it was that thankfulness, it's like my tour guide when I was in Egypt, he's having a bad fucking day. Just happened to have one of those days. I said, hey dude, are you okay? Right. And suddenly like we're talking and like, and a little bit, especially cultures, like I'm a little embarrassed. I'm like, you have no reason to be embarrassed. Like every human has the right to a bad day. You know what I'm saying? And like, he was super thankful. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's like, these are the little things that if I can find that with some random dude that barely speaks English in India, and I can find it with my tour guide in Egypt, okay, literally as I'm in the middle of a fucking panic attack, it's the first time I've been back in a desert, and like suddenly, I even told him, like, listen, you really helped me. Like, I don't know if you saw this, but like I was kind of freaking out. Like, why can't we do that for ourselves? Like, why is it so fucking hard when like these people and I are, call it 70% the same? I'm 90% the same with you, and you're gonna blow me up over this fucking shit.
Yep.
Like, for me personally, I understand how the current president makes it a little difficult for some of the things that he's really very aggressively done against people that don't fit his specific ilk, right? Like, my girlfriend right now, she's a lawyer and she's farther left on the spectrum than I am, and she sees some things and she like freaks out and like she really takes it. And like, I get it. But at the same time, like, not exactly, historically a fan of the left. Like, they certainly have their own problems too. And that's what it all kind of like cycles back to. So but yeah, that's definitely one of the things I learned in the military is that we're way more similar than we are different.
Yep.
And if you keep that in mind and you're willing to be open enough to have a conversation, because those are the people, like, at this point, man, it's like, if you want to try and yell at me or talk down to me or tell me all the ways that I'm fucked up because I don't agree with you, man, kiss my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here for your bullshit, man. Like, if you can't even have the conversation, I don't care what side of the aisle you on. I don't care what anything about you is. Like, I mean, especially when I was at Ranger Up, because we were a military, a veteran apparel company who had the trademark unapologetically American. I have been every ist in the book that you can ever imagine. Okay. I have been sexist. I have been racist. I am homophobic. I am, I'm a Zionist. I'm an anti-Zionist. I'm a Nazi. I am like, there is nothing that you can think of that is a negative pejorative term for someone that has not been hurled my way, sometimes vociferously and very aggressively. I'm none of that shit, man. Like, yeah. And I like, people who know me,
of course,
they know that. And that's the thing, there's like, calm down, people.
Yeah.
Like, just calm down. You're telling on yourself, actually. So
Hey, listen, Tommy, we didn't even really get into Ranger Up or Range 15, which I really wanted to, or meeting Tucker Max. Like, I love that story. I want to hear that. But we're already approaching Rogan lengths here, so maybe we save that for part 2. Does that make sense to you?
Dude, you know me. I'll come back
Awesome.
I'll come back anytime. I don't shut. I mean, this is probably the worst because I didn't shut the fuck up.
No,
the
this is
time,
great. Definitely want to have you back to talk about all that other stuff. But I appreciate you being here, man.
We'll do part 2.
All right, hey buddy, hey, it was good talking to you. We'll definitely do it again soon.
Yeah, dude.